Hello, we are finally at day 3 of the 3-day crash course from food guilt to food freedom, and day 3 is all about implementation. We are finally here. So we already recognize the issues that we have with food, or you recognize the issues that you had with food, your relationship with food. You recognized where that issue may have started, why it became such a big part of your life, and then we walk through the common fears of why we forbid the so-called bad foods, and how hard and talked about why it might be hard for you to implement those bad foods into your life. Now we're taking a huge leap forward and actually implementing everything we've learned. So if you have the workbook kind of guides you through it. It has reflection questions about this exercise, but essentially what you do is you pick one of your fear foods, one of the bad foods, your one of the foods that you don't eat, and next time you go out to eat or next time you go grocery shopping, you choose this food. So in my case, like I used yesterday, is the Oreos. So I'm going to go ahead and buy a pack of Oreos, and I'm going to take the time in a quiet space, in a safe space, by myself, and I'm going to sit down and eat some Oreos, enjoy the Oreos, and really sit there and experience eating Oreos. So taking in the smells, taking in the textures, taking in like what your thoughts are, how you're feeling, and examples of those reflection questions. Let me pull it up. Would be so obviously your initial thoughts of how it feels whenever you first eat the food, and then kind of thinking about what does it taste like, what's the texture like, does it taste good, is it satisfying, and would you eat it again? So it kind of lets you really like immerse yourself in the flavors, textures, and smells of the forbidden food, so then you can discover if you really do enjoy the food. Sometimes clients discover that it's not really a food that they actually love, which in my case would not be Oreos because I love Oreos, but I think an example of that would be like Snickers. So I used to like devour Snicker bars. I thought they were phenomenal, and it was because I didn't allow myself to have them. Well, I sat down, enjoyed the Snickers bar, and I was like, Snickers are good, but they're really not like my first choice. And I learned that because I sat down and really explored the flavors, textures, and like my feelings with the food. And this kind of helps the food have less power over you. So a lot of that guilt comes from food holding since you label it as bad, a bad place, right? Or in your mind. So it's like, oh, well, this food is bad, and then you eat it, and you're like, oh my God, I'm bad for eating this bad food. Like, I shouldn't have done that. But whenever you include that food into a neutral and okay list, like you're allowing yourself to eat it, it doesn't have that power over you, and therefore you don't have all that guilt after eating the food. So that's a whole goal with this exercise. And your call to action, your last call to action would be to keep a log, whether that's on your phone or if you want to write it down, and just kind of keep track of the foods that you're starting to include in your life. And this isn't going to happen, like I said yesterday about the Oreos, from one day to the next. It takes time, and some foods are going to be harder than others, but just kind of, it feels good to know the progress that you've made. It kind of helps you keep going. So for example, it's like you write down, I ate cheesecake after dinner on a date, and I wanted the whole thing even though I was full, but I stopped and told myself that I could eat it for lunch tomorrow. So the little things that you do, or gave myself permission to eat Oreos, and after the second one I was full and I realized that they weren't really my favorite. So just kind of like writing down how the experience is, how it's going with every food that you implement. And remember, if you're going to keep a log, it's not something that you're going to have to do forever. It's just a way to learn more about yourself and eventually start like more mindfully eating the foods, and it'll become second nature, and you'll have more of a sense of your hunger and fullness cues, which again, it's like an entirely different topic. Hunger and fullness cues, it's a thing of its own. But for this topic, it's really just trying to help you to move away from feeling all that guilt to just being more free and feeling more okay with the food choices that you make. So we went from checking in with ourselves, seeing where we stood with food, how our relationship is with food, certain foods, specifically bad foods, right? Which foods you label as bad. And then we sat with those emotions and we uncovered like what fears were holding you back from eating those foods, right? And now with this implementation, you get to implement all this into your real life. And so you went from feeling guilty about all these bad foods and then try to incorporate these bad foods in your thoughts first, trying to say that it's okay that I eat this, it's okay that I enjoy this, right? Using those affirmations to flip the fear into something that is okay. And now ultimately, what you have is less guilt whenever you choose that food, right? And I know it sounds easy peasy and in a 3-day course, but like I said, it does take time. But this is a small step forward to feeling more free, being more at peace with your food choices, with your relationship with food. So that is all I have for the course. If you are interested in intuitive eating, I am available to help. That's what I'm here for. You can book your 30-minute call. It's completely free and it's a Conquer Your Cravings call. Or you could do a 90-minute call, which is not free, but you can DM me for the rate for that. And that 90-minute course is just a little bit longer, so you have more time with me, and we get to talk about your fear foods and just kind of work more one-on-one with everything we've talked about in this course. So there's that one. And then if you're ready to just go all in, I have a 4-month program which takes you through the steps of intuitive eating. And intuitive eating isn't something that you follow like step by step. It's very individualized, and I meet you where you're at. So we go through intuitive eating, explain intuitive eating and how to implement into your life. And it's life-changing because you go from like what we talked about in this course, from fearing all these foods, from not eating all these foods, from dieting because you are just in pursuit of weight loss and all these other things, and you move away from all that and you just have more mental space for other important things like your family, your career, whatever it may be, and you're not always just hyper focused on food and the right food choices and things of that manner. So yeah, DM me if you have any questions. I really hope that this course helped. Send me an email. Let me know if you learned anything. Let me know if there was something that you were still curious about that I didn't really touch on. I'm here to help you. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.